tattletale? No? Tattletale? That's what if you tattled? You were told you were a tattletale? No? Okay. All right. Let's start over. All I ever wanted was a mother that would take me shopping. A mother that would, when she would come to school, she would sit there in the car, gorgeous hair, just came from the hairdresser, nails just done, and would behave herself. You know the kind of mother I'm talking about? What kind of mother that always behaves? I didn't get that. I got a cross between Mae West and Lucille Ball. I got a mother, she would come to school, and I couldn't find her. She would arrive in a station wagon with a sign that said, rabbits for sale. Embarrassed me to death. Where was she? Where was she? I couldn't find her. I couldn't find her. Then I would hear this, ooh, Kentucky, ooh. That was my mother. Under the pine tree, picking up pine cones. Oh. As if that wasn't enough, she would come to school with a powdered wig, dressed as Martha Washington. And she wore orthopedic shoes and a bustle. And she played an auto harp, and this is how she sang. Old folks at home, the old folks at home. I would crawl under the chair in front of me. But you know, it's the darndest thing, because when I go back to Philadelphia, I see people who were there listening to her, just as I did, and they'd say, oh, I remember your mother. She had so much smoke. She had such a good voice. Oh. Talking about my mother's good voice. We went to Jamaica, and the plane was late. So there she is with her auto harp. Do you know what an auto harp is? It's kind of like a cross between a typewriter and a guitar. She took her auto harp with her to Jamaica, sat there in the phone booth at the airport playing. And people came around. And nowadays that would never work. They'd think that she was going to do some terrible thing. The security guards would be very upset. But all these people came around her, and there she is playing in the phone booth at the airport. So we get to Jamaica, and somehow she was able to bring people around her again, and then she'd give them auto harps. So she had lessons on the auto harp with these little kids. She said she loved auto harps. She got them at Sears and Roebuck. They were very cheap, but they really made beautiful music. All I wanted was a garden type variety mother. The kind when you came home from school that say, how was your day? How many people had that kind of mother? Well, you did? Lucky you. Anyone else? Oh, you did? Lucky you. How about over here? Anyone have that kind of mother? Oh, boy. Tell me about it sometime. My mother used to say to me, you just wait. You just wait till you have kids. I boxed her. I never had any. So, my mother came out to San Francisco to visit me. And I put her up at the Huntington Hotel. And I went to see her, and she wasn't there. They didn't know who I was talking about. She disappeared. So then I got a call from her. She says, I'm at the Tenderloin. Mommy, you're where? The Tenderloin. And the people are so nice here. People will talk to me here. Up there, up that hill, nobody would talk to me in the lobby. So she said I was hovering over and she wanted a day off. And I said, well, call me every 4 hours and tell me where you are. She called me. She said, I'm here at the Cliff House. Oh. So I went to the Cliff House. I couldn't find her. I got the manager at the Cliff House to look for her. We couldn't find her. She had found a place up at the top of the Cliff House that the manager didn't even think about looking. So I took her to a senior center. Next thing I know, she's dancing like this, with her boobs over this short guy's shoulders, dancing like this. Remember how we used to dance when we were 15? That was my mother. And you couldn't see anything between the two of them. And her eyes were closed. And there's her orthopedic shoes. And this guy, he's all kind of under her and around her. Oh, I forgot to tell you, my father was dead by then. She had a way of getting people to help her do tasks that she didn't want to do, but she'd make it fun. She was really good at organizing people. She got the delinquent kids in the area where I live to come and plant daffodils and to do all kinds of farm work. And then they would have a lunch. And then she had a square dance in the barn. And people would come and they'd do that. They'd work for hours, happily. These are kids, that were considered dangerous, that would come and plant her daffodils. Well, my mother, I don't know. I said to her once, or she said to me, she said, it's too bad you didn't have the kind of mother that would buy you new clothes all the time. And I thought for a minute. I thought about the mothers who had bought their kids clothes all the time. And by then, they were all dead, those mothers. My mother, she had tremendous longevity. She just kept on chugging and chugging and chugging. So I weighed all that and I thought, it's okay. I took her to Pendle Hill Conference Center to a poetry writing workshop. She broke every rule in the book. Well, number one, no booze allowed. She took a cough medicine bottle and put vodka in it. I know she did. She came to all the workshops late. She'd knock over all the chairs, go in the front row, and snore. Here's the poem I wrote about my mother snoring. My mother snored. And it was awful sharing a room with her. And when I ran a workshop at Pendle Hill Conference Center, while everyone was writing, she snored. Like a loud, rusty locomotive. And when I saw her dead, she was so quiet. No snoring. If she'd gone to a sleep clinic, I'm sure she would have broken the sleep measuring apparatus. 1 second of her snoring and alarms would go off and the fire engines would come. Yeah, she sure did know how to snore. I took her to Wellness Week up at St. Helena Hospital, and they had a rule then, no one under 80 could come. Well, that didn't stop her. She lied about her age. She told everybody that she was, what did she say she was? I think she said she was 69 or something. And I think they believed her. They believed her. But so there she is in a Tai Chi class, so relaxed, I hardly recognized her. I said, Mommy, I've never seen you so relaxed. She says, I've never been so relaxed. So that was a very golden moment. She went to a retirement place called Quadrangle outside of Philadelphia and broke every rule in the book. She got herself a grievance committee because she was always in trouble. You weren't supposed to dive in the swimming pool, and she would dive in the swimming pool. So she got herself a nurse to sit there so she could swim, because you weren't supposed to swim by yourself in the swimming pool. The nurse didn't know how to swim. So she goes for a walk and ends up in the marsh at this retirement home, and they called the fire department. So she's coming back, all dripping in mud and everything. And she starts taking her clothes off because she didn't want the nurse to know where she'd been. She had a cat named Benjamin. You weren't supposed to have pets. And she would try to keep the cat in, but the cat would go out. And then she had Emily Mudcomb, who was a woman in Pennsylvania that made abortions legal. And you'd think that a retirement home, this is back in the 70s, I guess, that someone talking about abortions, nobody would come. Everybody came. She thought that was great. Everybody came to her apartment to hear about abortions. So she really loved swimming there. She really loved to swim at that retirement home. I think she's the only one that went in the pool. She put an awning up. You weren't supposed to have it do anything to the outside of your apartment. She put an awning up. She broke every rule in the place. So she got herself a grievance committee and a lawyer. Oh, she was something. She hated to spend money. She would order toilet paper from the Sexton Toilet Paper Company that sell toilet paper to industries. So this big van would come with all this toilet paper rolling down into the cellar. Well, the cellar had floods, and the toilet paper would get brown. And still she made us use it. To this day, when I get to use bright white toilet paper, I'm so appreciative. We had to do feet exercising after dinner every night. My father published the Kinsey Report, and my mother was Southern Baptist, couldn't even say chicken breast. So Kinsey would come over, and a lot of people would come because Kinsey was very interested in interviewing people. There we all were, doing our foot exercises after dinner. She really believed in foot exercises. To this day, I still do foot exercises whenever I think of it. She would put tape on her wrinkles to keep them from getting worse. Then she would put a ski mask over her head to keep her warm because she didn't like to spend a lot of money on heat. And she would take soap and unwrap it and let it sit there because she said it would last longer. She was an inflation fighter. We went to Woods Hole in the summer, and it was a very neighborhoody kind of place. She was friends with all the neighbors. She felt the best way to get to have a conversation with them would be to go see them at 7 in the morning. I tried to tell her, I said, Mommy, I don't think people like you coming at 7 in the morning. She said, but that's the way I can get to see them. She said, during the day, they're too busy. But she had taps on her orthopedic shoes, and she'd stand there at the post office, and people would say, "Oh, how are you, Mrs. Soames?" "Oh, I'm just fine. I'm doing tap dancing lessons." But if ever I wanted to do anything wacky or fun, she was the one. At a moment's notice, she was always ready for fun. When we lived on a farm, and when the vegetables would come for the first crop, we had to stand up and salute them. Here's some pictures of her. I hope you can see. I'd like to pass them around. Would you like to pass this around? See. Over here? Okay. So you won't think I'm making all this up. What? She saved her wrapping paper, her Christmas wrapping paper, and she wouldn't open her presents until the summer. They'd sit there. She said they were like beautiful, too beautiful to tear apart. And so they'd sit there in the living room until the summertime. We were on a boat once, and the motor conked out. She takes out her bobby pin from her head and sticks it in the motor. I'm not kidding. And she saved our lives. The motor all of a sudden behaved, was fine. I would like to read you few of the poems from her book. She put this out on her 80th birthday, Unbroken Time. This is Ottawa, the farm where we live. They say the universe is contained in a grain of sand. This expanse of rolling meadow to me symbolizes all spaciousness. It brings to my mind the endless wheat fields of the Middle West, or those limitless views of our far west. It is like the ocean, calm at sea, or an arc of sky. It has the feel of uninterrupted time. As I gaze, I no longer feel confined. One of the topics of a workshop I ran was something ordinary, something that you wouldn't think that would be topic for a poem. And she picked a plastic sponge. How fresh and pristine you are in your cellophane bag. Oh, plastic sponge, as you arrive from the market, a pastel color so dainty, so delicate in appearance. I denude you of your careful wrap and place you ready at hand by my kitchen sink. I spare you not. Blood on the counter, you wipe it up. A scorched pan, you make it clean. Milk spilled, you mop. I have but to squeeze soap suds through you, and all traces of toil is vanished. Oh, plastic sponge, are you truly magic? She took the farm that had been her mother-in-law's farm. It was built in 1700, complete with this secret passage to get away from the Indians. And she turned it into a natural lands trust. So it's totally unspoiled, and people can come there. There's no admittance charge or anything, and anybody can come and enjoy nature. And I think that's a wonderful thing she did, because otherwise it would be all condominiums and apartment houses and shopping malls. But no, she wanted it to be untouched, just the way it always was. So if you're ever in Philadelphia, Google Saunders Woods and go out there and see trees that have been there forever and just enjoy, the natural beauty. And it's not far at all from the center of Philadelphia. And I think that's a wonderful legacy or gift that she's given all of us and for generations to come, because it'll always be there. So, thank you.